And welcome back. Well, for many teens, prom is the highlight of their high school experience. And they have the dress, the tuxedo, and shoes. But something that's often overlooked is having a safe driving path to and from this glamorous affair. Yeah, Ann Scallon, publisher and editor of Before the Wheel, is here to share some information on how to prepare your teen. See, I think as parents, it's harder for us to prepare for this night than it is for the teenager. I mean, seriously, I have a daughter she's still a year away from even learning. But if I start going there in my head and back to my teenage days, I can lose sleep for a very long time.
That's what happens a lot of times. The parent has a lot of anxiety and fears.
Well, yeah, because they're inexperienced, and then in some cases, they sometimes add alcohol or other things on top of it. So let's talk a little bit about just approaching the conversation, because you know how it is. A lot of times kids are like, I don't want to talk about it, or that you can tell they're not listening, or you think they're not listening.
Right. Well, what I would recommend is you're doing all these fun things with the teen related to prom. You're going to pick out the tuxedo or the gown, or going to pick out flowers, or decide what to bring as a hors d'oeuvre to the picture event. So that's a great time to kind of weave it into the conversation. Hey, by the way, you know, who's going with who? You probably at this point know whether they're going on a date or whether they have a group of friends they're going with. But getting those details, because I highly recommend for prom, absolutely not to have more than 2 in a car.
Really?
So if they're going to be hanging around with a group, they want 2 people in each car. Because the more teens you add to the car, exponentially the risk of a crash is much higher, and that's simply due to distractions. They're excited, they're, you know, full of laughter, and they bring that into the car, and, you know, focusing on the driving gets lost.
Yeah, they're talking, they're sending pictures back and forth with their other friends.
Right.
And so I could see how a driver can get distracted if it's one of the teens driving. But there's going to be a lot of parents out there who are going to say that's not realistic. They've already planned this. I can't say you've got to go separate, because then they feel like they're excluding or isolating them from their friends. So how do you combat some of those conversations that your teen is going to rebut with?
Well, it's a negotiation, and sometimes you simply have to tell your teen, guess what, you're driving, you're entering adult life. And it's not, I want this, I want that. It's, guess what, I'm helping you out, you know, with this tuxedo or gown, and we're making arrangements for this, and what I need from you is a commitment to what we've decided on this. And I really think that the parent needs to hold a hard line, because there, in addition to the driving, there's, you know, after parties, and teens love to say the parents are home. Well, sometimes the parents have different values than you have, and home means they're sitting up in a room somewhere to be officially home, and they're not going to walk down and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So again, as a parent, you need to take a proactive approach and just simply say to your teen, we both want the same thing. We both want you to have a relaxing, enjoyable evening. Safety is part of that. And again, the events are where you have the fun. The driving is how you get from point A to point B.
What about those after parties, or even a pre-party for that matter, where people say the parents are home? Do you recommend, as the parent, you say, give me that parent's phone number, place a phone call, and ask about specifics and their opinions about kids who are drinking or having alcohol available in their house? Or does that show your teen that you don't trust them? You're kind of checking up on them.
Again, you have to be kind of creative and negotiate, and what you can do is, it's probably easier for you to get the number than to ask your teen, and simply call and say, gee, you know, I have a special hors d'oeuvre I make for everything. Can I make that for you and stop by?
And hang out all night.
And keep an eye on things. But really kind of open the door for you to get into a further conversation with that parent as to what is expected for the evening. And sometimes parents say, well, I'm taking all the keys away. Well, that's not a good sign, because then you're just saying,
you know, that
anything goes. And so it really, you do have to be creative and smart, and sometimes a little bit coy, but you know, you have to have your teen's best interest in mind, and you don't want to make it look like you're hovering. But you know, you just take a few extra steps and be creative about it.
When a lot of teen groups get that limo or something like that up front, but you're right, it's later in the evening. It's coming home from the lock-in or the parties afterward, or the dance that some of the issues come. Do you think it's smart for parents to say, hey, I'll drive? Or do teens usually not want that? I don't even know what's cool anymore.
Well, you know, teens, especially junior year, you have some flexibility because a lot of them, half the teens have their license and half don't. And so a lot of the other parents are doing that. So I would take advantage of that for the juniors, saying, yeah, in the end, we are going to pick you up. Or, you know, someone else you're close to are going to pick up, you know, 2 or 3 of you or whatever. For the seniors, it is a little more difficult because a lot of them have their own cars and that type of thing. So again, just kind of getting the details as to what's happening before that, and that they understand. They understand this is serious, and you driving home at 5 in the morning, are you taking this seriously? You know, straight on.
We just ran out of time, but quickly, are you a fan of consequences if they break rules? For example, if you find out they've had more than 2 people in the car and you've agreed to 2, or you find out they've been drinking? Definitely consequences should happen right away, and they should, you know, be at least a 1 or 2 week period where they realize the importance. If it's much more serious, then obviously a longer period. But they need to know you get rewarded with more privileges when you do the right thing, and privileges get taken away when you don't do what you're supposed to.
Great information. You have so much more on your website. So here's the information for Before the Wheel, supporting safe teen driving, especially during this prom season. BeforeTheWheel.com is the website to learn more. And pass that website on to your teen as well, because there's great information for them there too. Thanks so much for being here, Ann.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Appreciate it.